It all started in Ho Chi Minh City one summer. It was sweltering by anyone's standards. Needless to say, Artemis Fowl would not have been willing to put up with such discomfort if something extremely important had not been at stake. Time for some math. What do you get if you take the brains of Light Yagami, the daddy issues of Edward Elric, and the snarkiness of C2? Besides the knowledge that I'm probably an otaku, you'll find yourself the protagonist of a book that the author Eoin Colfer has described as Die Hard with Fairies. But don't be fooled by the description. This isn't some action fantasy paperback. In fact, the series is more of a character study, focused on the titular character Artemis Fowl, as he goes from the villain protagonist of the first book to acting only reluctantly as a hero for his own interests to actively trying to save the world. Artemis Fowl II is the heir to the world's most powerful crime organization going back for centuries. He is a prodigy, one of the world's foremost tactical minds, and has massive resources reaching across the globe. He's also only 12 years old. Artemis is assisted primarily by his manservant and bodyguard, Butler, a Eurasian mountain of a man with the foremost knowledge in martial arts, tactics, and firearms, whose best friend is a Sig Sauer pistol. Several years before the first book, Artemis's father attempts to move the family into legal territory, only for a ship to be sunken by the Russian mafia. He is assumed dead, but Artemis refuses to believe it, and as his mother falls into a deep depression, Artemis uses all of his family's resources to search for his father. To this end, he uncovers the existence of a secret civilization of fairies living under the earth, and plans to kidnap a fairy to hold for ransom. He ends up with a feisty female officer from the Lower Elements Police Reconnaissance Unit. That is, LEP Recon. Yeah, that's on purpose. As the series goes on, Artemis and the LEP Recon officer Captain Holly Short go from enemies to reluctant allies to best friends as they fight both mundane and magical threats to the world. Artemis's character development is fantastic, showing how he goes from a ruthless criminal to a hero throughout the books in a manner which is very natural. Holly is a major badass and my favorite character. Again, her character development is very natural. She begins very much untrusting of Artemis, justified given that he kidnapped her, even if it's for a good cause. Even when forced to work together, she does not trust him for several books, but her trust of him grows as he proves his worth as a hero. Even the supporting cast is fantastic. Butler proves himself an amazing father figure to Artemis, and other individuals in the fairy world are well developed to the point of actively caring for these characters. The setting is one of my favorite aspects of the series. There are 7 races of fairies: elves, goblins, dwarves, centaurs, sprites, pixies, and gnomes. Many are capable of using magic, but the magic system is well defined. They can heal injuries, they can use a hypnotic mesmer, and they can speak any language. However, fairies also have a level of technology far beyond what humans have. As just one example, Holly uses a laser pistol powered by a nuclear battery, and that's just the surface. Magic and technology are married in such a way as to make this one of my favorite settings of any novel I've ever read. So, the characters and plot are good, the setting is good, and it's all very fun. Great, awesome, 10 out of 10, right? Oh, hell no. While very funny, some of the humor in the Artemis Fowl series tends to be very immature. I'm not talking about sex jokes, I'm talking about bathroom jokes. Ichiro Oda can make bathroom jokes and maintain credibility as a fantastic writer, but that is a very rare quality. A major source of the aforementioned jokes come from the dwarves. Here, dwarves do still mine for gemstones. Their manner of going about it is unorthodox. Namely, they can unhinge their jaws and eat the dirt, and the dirt must exit. add in the fact that there is air in the ground that collects in the dwarf's body for a while. Ew. My big problem with the books, however, is less in the humor. How do I put this? Eoin Colfer is very opinionated? Okay, here's the deal. It doesn't happen in most books of the series, but every so often, Colfer tends to get up on his soapbox and use one of his characters, usually Holly, as a mouthpiece for his views on environmentalism. Now, there's nothing wrong with expressing opinions in a work. I'd be a bit of a hypocrite if I said so. However, Colfer often completely diverts the plot in order to bring up these points, and it isn't like this was a part of the series from the beginning. The worst of it comes in books 6 and 7. It's really kind of a shame, because 7 is one of the funniest of the entire series, for reasons I will not go into in case you decide to read it. It just gets a little bit annoying when the fairies are constantly babbling about how much humans suck, when the fairies themselves are self-righteous, egotistical idiots. It was even asked once why the fairies didn't share their high technology like efficient and compact nuclear power with humans. Their response? They would just use it as a weapon. Sure, one might argue that this is Colfer showing how the fairies are just as flawed as humans, but the problem with that is that rarely does any human defend their species. With one exception near the end of the final book, humans are consistently portrayed as being inherently wicked and or stupid. However, despite every flaw of the books, despite every author-tracked and disgusting joke, this is a fantastic series. The setting is great, and I love the author's sense of humor. Again, aside from the bathroom jokes. Here's one of my favorite moments from the second book, the Arctic Incident. There were only 2 men on the planet better educated in the various martial arts than Butler, and he was related to one of them. The other lived on an island in the South China Sea, and spent his days meditating and beating up palm trees. You really had to feel sorry for the goblins. But in my humble opinion, the best part of the series is watching the character development of Artemis Fowl. Even in the beginning of the series, while the villain of the first book, Artemis maintains the audience's sympathy by showing that he wants to find his father. By the end of book 2, Artemis has developed the ability to respect somebody for reasons besides intelligence, and begins to trust Holly Short. In the third book, The Eternity Code, Artemis shows that he does have a soul, and cares for Butler like a father, and shows genuine guilt when he allows fairy technology to fall into human hands. In book 4, The Opal Deception, Artemis has begun to show a genuinely good side, and begins to develop a tentative friendship with Holly Short. By book 5, The Lost Colony, they are in active communication and speak on casual terms. This only continues on into book 8. The character development and the relationship between Artemis and Holly is reason enough to love this series. So, final verdicts. There are some major issues. Colfer soapboxes a bit too much at times, and some of the humor is quite disgusting. However, the rest of the time the jokes are hilarious, and Colfer has great skill as a writer. The setting is fabulous, and the characters of Artemis Fowl and Holly Short are the best points of the books. You'll enjoy this series if you like sci-fi fantasy, sarcastic humor, creative settings, and don't mind that it's a young adult novel. It's far from perfect, but far from terrible, so I'll give the Artemis Fowl series by Eoin Colfer a score of 7 out of 10 stars.